The first 7 years of a child's life are not a warm-up for real development. They are not the easy part before the important part begins. They are the most critical developmental window that will ever open in a human life. A period during which the brain is building the foundational architecture that will determine how that person handles stress, forms relationships, regulates emotions, learns new things, and understands their own worth for the rest of their life. The research on early brain development is consistent and unambiguous about this. In the first 7 years, the brain grows faster than it will ever grow again. Neural connections are forming at rates that will never be matched. Sensory systems are calibrating. Emotional patterns are being wired. The templates for how this child will experience themselves and the world around them are being laid down in these years, in the ordinary moments of every single day, with or without the parent's awareness that this is happening. And here is the part that matters most for parents. The brain that is being built during these years is not built primarily through flashcards, or early reading programs, or structured learning activities. It is built through specific experiences that most parents are not focusing on. Not because they do not care, but because nobody told them what the developing brain actually needs in these years, versus what modern parenting culture has convinced them it needs. The gap between what the brain needs, and what parents typically provide during the first 7 years, is not a gap of love, or effort, or intention. It is a gap of information. And that gap has consequences that show up not in the first 7 years, but in the years that follow, in how the child handles a difficult classroom, navigates peer relationships, manages frustration, and eventually, in how the adult they become approaches the whole of their life. Hi, I'm Stella Simone from My Home Daily, and in this video we'll talk about 9 critical things your child's brain needs before age 7, that most parents miss. What each need does in the developing brain, why the window matters, and exactly how to meet each need in the ordinary moments of your everyday life starting right now. Number 1. Co-regulation before self-regulation. The single most misunderstood developmental need in the first 7 years is this one. Modern parenting culture is deeply invested in the idea of teaching children to self-regulate, to manage their own emotions, calm themselves down, handle frustration independently. And self-regulation is genuinely important. But what almost no one explains to parents is that self-regulation is not a skill that can be taught directly. It is a skill that develops organically, but only after thousands of experiences of something else first. Co-regulation is the process by which a child's nervous system borrows the calm of a regulated adult to return from a state of distress to a state of equilibrium. When a baby cries and a parent responds with a calm, steady presence, picking them up, speaking softly, breathing slowly, the baby's nervous system does not learn to calm itself in that moment. It borrows the parent's calm. And over thousands of repetitions of this borrowing, thousands of distress cycles that end in return to calm, through the regulated presence of a caregiver, the nervous system gradually builds its own capacity to regulate. Not from being told to calm down, not from being left to figure it out alone, from borrowing calm until it can generate calm. Think of it like learning to ride a bike with training wheels. The training wheels are not the goal, but they are absolutely necessary before the goal is possible. Remove them too early and the child does not build independence. They build fear. Co-regulation is the training wheel of emotional self-regulation. The child who receives abundant co-regulation in the first 7 years develops robust self-regulation capacity. The child who is pushed towards self-regulation before the co-regulation foundation is built develops something that looks like self-sufficiency, but is actually emotional suppression. So when your child under 7 is distressed, genuinely overwhelmed, scared, frustrated, or flooded, your job is not to teach them to calm themselves. Your job is to be the calm they can borrow. Move toward them, speak slowly and softly, breathe deliberately, hold them if they will let you. Your regulated nervous system is the most powerful developmental tool available to your child's brain during these years. Use it. Number 2. Serve and return interaction. In the first years of life before language develops fully, the primary mechanism through which a child's brain builds its social and cognitive architecture is something researchers call serve and return. The child makes a bid, a sound, a gesture, a look, a reach toward something, and the caregiver responds to that specific bid. The child serves. The caregiver returns. And in that exchange, neural connections are formed that become the foundation for language, social intelligence, attention, and the basic understanding that communication works, that reaching out produces a response. When serve and return happens consistently, when bids are noticed and responded to reliably, the brain builds the architecture for what researchers call contingent communication. The understanding that my actions produce responses in the world around me, that I can influence my environment, that other people are responsive to me and I to them. This understanding is not just social, it is the foundation for motivation, curiosity, and the capacity to learn. When serve and return is disrupted, when bids are consistently missed, when the caregiver is distracted or unavailable, when the child reaches out and finds nothing, the brain files a different lesson. Reaching out is unreliable. Communication does not consistently work. The world does not respond to me in a predictable way. This filing has consequences for language development, for social confidence, and for the child's fundamental orientation toward learning new things. So please, in the first 7 years, be a consistent returner of your child's serves. When they point at something, look at what they are pointing at and respond. When they vocalize, vocalize back. When they reach for something, acknowledge the reach before deciding whether to help. When they bring you something to show you, actually look at it. These micro moments of serve and return, repeated thousands of times across the first years of life, are building the brain's social and communicative architecture more powerfully than any structured learning activity you will ever enroll them in. Number 3. Unstructured free play. This is perhaps the need that modern parenting culture has most thoroughly dismantled. In the last 30 years, the amount of free unstructured play available to children under 7 has dropped dramatically, while structured activities, organized sports, educational programs, and screen time have increased proportionally, and the developmental cost of this shift is now well documented. Free unstructured play, play that is child-initiated, child-directed, and free from adult instruction or evaluation, is not a break from development. It is one of the primary drivers of development in the first 7 years. When a child plays freely, they are doing something neurologically complex and essential. They are making decisions, they are solving problems, they are managing conflict with other children, they are regulating their own emotional states, the excitement of winning, the frustration of losing, the anxiety of the unknown, without an adult managing those states for them. They are exercising the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive center, in exactly the way that structured activities directed by adults cannot replicate. Imagine trying to learn to swim by watching someone else swim. You could develop an intellectual understanding of the mechanics. The body learns to swim by being in the water, by figuring out what works and what does not through direct trial and experience. That is what free play is for the developing brain. It is the water, and children under 7 need to be in it every day. So resist the pressure to fill every hour of your young child's life with enrichment activities and structured programs. Give them time, real unstructured time, to play freely. With simple objects, with other children without adult mediation. Outdoors where the environment itself provides the unpredictability and novelty their developing brains need. The brain that is developing in free play is doing work that no curriculum can replicate and no screen can provide. Number 4. The language environment a child inhabits in the first 7 years determines the architecture of their language brain in ways that have lifelong consequences for reading, comprehension, communication, and academic success. The research is unambiguous. Children who hear more words, more varied vocabulary, and more complex sentence structures in their early years develop larger vocabularies, stronger reading skills, and more sophisticated language processing abilities, and the inverse is equally true. But here is what most parents misunderstand about creating a rich language environment. It is not about reading the right books, using the right apps, or enrolling in the right language programs. It is about the quantity and quality of live, responsive, contingent conversation between the parent and child in the ordinary moments of every day. The words that build the language brain are the words spoken directly to the child. Not at them, not in their presence, but to them, in genuine two-way interaction that gives the child both the input of hearing language and the experience of using it. Talk to your child constantly throughout the day. Name what you see, what you are doing, what they are doing, what is happening around you. Use real words, not simplified baby vocabulary, but genuine rich vocabulary explained in context. When you read to them, talk about what is happening in the story rather than just reading the words. Ask them questions that require more than a yes or no answer. And when they speak, however imperfectly, however incompletely, respond to the content of what they said, rather than the correctness of how they said it. The brain-building language needs input, interaction, and the experience of being heard more than it needs correction. Number 5. Predictable routines and a sense of safety. The developing brain of a child under 7 is running a continuous background process that consumes an enormous amount of its resources. That process is threat assessment. Primitive brain is constantly scanning the environment, asking the same question in 100 different ways. Is this safe? Is this predictable? Can I trust what comes next? And the answer to that question, derived from the child's daily experience of whether the world behaves in reliable and consistent ways, determines how much of the brain's resources are available for learning, curiosity, creativity, and connection. When a child lives in a predictable environment, where routines are consistent, where transitions are prepared for, where the important people in their life show up in reliable ways, the brain's threat assessment system can rest. It receives the answer safe and predictable, and can redirect its resources toward the things that build intelligence and capability. When a child's environment is unpredictable, chaotic schedules, inconsistent responses from caregivers, frequent unexpected changes, the threat assessment system stays on high alert. And a brain running chronic threat assessment does not have the available resources to learn, to play, to explore, or to connect in the ways that build the developmental foundations the first 7 years are supposed to be building. Predictable routines are not about rigidity, they are about giving the developing brain the gift of knowing what comes next, which is the gift of being able to stop scanning for danger and start engaging with the world. Morning routines, mealtime patterns, bedtime sequences. These are not just logistical conveniences, they are neurological infrastructure. Build them deliberately, and protect them consistently. Number 6. Physical movement and outdoor time. The developing brain is not separate from the developing body. In the first 7 years, the brain builds its foundational architecture through physical experience, through the proprioceptive feedback of moving through space, through the vestibular stimulation of spinning and swinging and climbing, through the sensory richness of direct contact with the natural environment. Movement is not a break from brain development. It is one of its primary drivers. Research consistently shows that children who have abundant physical activity and outdoor time in their early years develop stronger attention spans, better emotional regulation, more robust executive function, and higher academic readiness than children whose early years are spent primarily indoors in sedentary activities. The brain that runs and climbs and tumbles and explores is a brain that is building the neural architecture for focus, for self-control, for spatial reasoning, and for the kind of embodied confidence that classroom learning eventually requires. And outdoor time specifically matters beyond what indoor physical activity can provide. The natural environment delivers a quality and variety of sensory input. The variation of natural light, the unpredictability of natural terrain, the sounds and smells and textures of the world outside controlled environments, that the developing sensory processing systems need for healthy calibration. A child who spends hours outdoors every day is giving their brain something that no indoor enrichment activity, however well designed, can fully replicate. Get your child outside every single day regardless of weather. Let them run, climb, get dirty, experience the unpredictability of the natural world. Protect their physical activity time from the encroachment of screens and structured activities with the same seriousness you would protect sleep. Their brain is doing work outdoors that it can do nowhere else. Number 7. A secure attachment to at least one adult. Everything else on this list, the co-regulation, the serve and return, the play, the language, the routine, the movement, is most effective when it happens inside the context of a secure attachment relationship. Because the developing brain does not receive developmental input equally from all sources. It is specifically designed to receive the most formative input from the specific people it is most attached to. The parents, the primary caregivers. These are the people whose responses wire the deepest patterns in the child's developing nervous system. Secure attachment, the specific quality of relationship in which the child trusts that the caregiver is reliably available, genuinely interested, and safely responsive, is not a given. It is built through thousands of small interactions across the first years of life, through the parent who responds to distress rather than withdrawing from it, through the caregiver who follows the child's lead in play rather than directing it, through the adult who repairs after conflict rather than leaving ruptures unaddressed, through the daily evidence, accumulated over years, that this person can be counted on. The child who develops secure attachment to at least one adult in the first 7 years has a developmental advantage that extends across every domain of their life. They explore more confidently because they trust their secure base will be there when they return. They recover from distress more efficiently because they have experience of co-regulation. They learn more readily because their brain is not consuming its resources in chronic threat assessment. Secure attachment is not one item on a developmental checklist. It is the container inside which all other development is most possible. Number 8. Experience of manageable challenge and failure. One of the most counterintuitive needs of the developing brain in the first 7 years is the need for difficulty. Not overwhelming difficulty. Not trauma or neglect or adversity beyond what a developing nervous system can process, but manageable challenge, the experience of wanting something, attempting it, struggling, trying again, and either succeeding or learning to tolerate the experience of not succeeding. This sequence, experienced repeatedly across the first 7 years, builds the neural architecture for what researchers call frustration tolerance, grit, growth mindset, and the fundamental belief that effort produces results. When parents with the best of intentions, out of genuine love, remove difficulty before the child can engage with it, they are preventing the brain from building this architecture. The child who never experiences the sequence of struggle and recovery never develops the neural evidence that struggle is survivable, and that effort matters. And without that evidence, every new difficulty in later life, academic pressure, social challenge, professional setback, arrives at a brain that has no internal reference point for the experience of working through something hard. The manageable challenge does not need to be dramatic. It is the puzzle that is slightly too hard, the climbing structure that requires genuine effort, the social conflict with a peer that the parent allows the child to navigate before stepping in, the task that takes 3 attempts before it works. Each of these ordinary moments of managed difficulty is giving the developing brain something it cannot build any other way: the experience of its own capability in the face of challenge. Let your child struggle sometimes. Not helplessly, not without support, but genuinely, with you nearby and available, but not intervening before the struggle has had a chance to teach something. The brain that has experienced its own capability in manageable difficulty is a brain that will approach the inevitable larger difficulties of adult life with something other than fear. Number 9. Being genuinely known by at least one person. The 9th critical need of the developing brain is the one least likely to appear in any parenting program or child development curriculum. It cannot be measured by a milestone chart or evaluated by a developmental assessment. And yet the research on what produces genuinely secure, wise, and resilient adults points to it again and again, with remarkable consistency. The child who grows into the most capable adult is almost universally a child who had the experience, repeated across the first 7 years, of being genuinely known by at least one person, not managed, not evaluated, not pushed toward achievement, or guided toward the right outcomes. Known, their particular way of thinking noticed and valued, their specific humor appreciated, their individual fears taken seriously, their unique interests engaged with genuine curiosity, their inner world treated as something worth understanding, rather than something to be shaped into the right form. Being genuinely known is different from being loved. Many children are deeply loved by parents who do not genuinely know them, who know their schedule, their performance, their behavior, their achievements, but not the specific interior person who inhabits all of those external facts. And the child who is loved but not known develops a particular kind of loneliness. The loneliness of someone who is surrounded by care but unseen at the level of who they actually are. The parent who genuinely knows their child asks different questions. Not how is school, but what is something you thought about today that you have not told anyone? Not did you behave, but what was hard for you today, and how did you handle it? Not what did you achieve, but what did you discover about yourself or the world? These questions, asked genuinely, with real interest in the answer, tell the child that their specific interior person is worth knowing. And the brain of a child who believes their interior person is worth knowing develops something that no curriculum can produce. A genuine, settled, unshakable sense of self. You have 7 years to build this in your child. 7 years of ordinary conversations, of noticing what makes them specifically them, of being interested in their particular mind and heart, rather than their general performance and behavior. 7 years is both a short time and more than enough time. Start today, ask a real question, listen to the whole answer, and let your child discover, in your genuine curiosity about who they are, that the specific person they are is exactly worth being. These 9 things: co-regulation, serve and return, free play, rich language, predictable safety, physical movement, secure attachment, manageable challenge, and being genuinely known, are not a curriculum. They are not a program. They do not require any equipment or expertise or special preparation. They are available to you in the ordinary moments of every single day that you spend with your child before age 7. In the morning routines and the bedtime conversations and the floor play sessions, and the outdoor walks, and the moments of distress met with calm, and the questions asked with genuine curiosity. The brain being built in these years is the one your child will use for the rest of their life. It does not need perfection. It does not need extraordinary intervention. It needs these 9 things, offered consistently in the ordinary texture of an ordinary childhood, by a parent who knows what the developing brain is actually asking for, and who shows up to provide it. If this video gave you something important to think about, please like it and share it with a parent of a young child who needed to hear this today. And if you want more videos on early brain development and emotionally healthy parenting, subscribe to my home daily so you never miss one. We are so glad you are here.